regarding any of the work that you're going to get into. So learning to love yourself, like I said, is the greatest love of all. But also just the Bible. When you get into Psalms, Proverbs, or whatever, any of the books of the Bible, you begin to see how God sees you and how He has to, of course, especially protecting you. So reading your Bible is another thing that you should be doing to continue to see the word in your heart, so that you can see how God sees you. And then you will know other issues of how the borders or boundaries should be set.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. I love that. Amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. We'll have some time as well. We're going to do a couple of things and then hop into some additional reflections as well. So for section 1, how to set clear boundaries and stick to them. Matthew 5:37 says, simply let your yes be yes and your no be no. Sorry, okay, anyway. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. Matthew 5:37. And there's a quote here on this page as well that says, boundaries protect the things that are of value to you. They keep you in alignment with what you have decided you want in life. That means the key to good boundaries is knowing what you want. And this is really key because when you're establishing boundaries, you can, look at other people's boundaries and say, oh yeah, I like this. This works for them. But then that also might not work for you, right? You have to decide what is a boundary for you, what violates your personal space, what violates your space in general. In fact, I was thinking about at a startup company that I was working at, and when you have engineers, you have a small engineering team, and they have the way of the world. They're building this technology, and there's always a changing priority. And there were things that my clients would want, and then I would go to the engineers and I'm like, hey, I need this. And they would tell me one of two things. One, they would just go, no, I don't have time. I don't have capacity. I'm like, what? What do you mean? You can't tell me no. The clients are asking for this. And they're like, no, you don't have time. And the first time that happened to me, I just was looking around like, there's no way. I have never been told. And I'm like, ooh, this is kind of uncomfortable. But also, I am so impressed. I wish that I could do the same thing, right? And so the next one would be, and they would say, okay, sure, I have these 3 other priorities. Which one should I pause in order to get this done? That's like, all of them need to be done. All of them are important, right? But that forces me to now say, okay, if I want this done, I have to readjust and shift. And so this is really the benefit of boundaries, because they know I have this amount of time a day. And that's it. I'm not getting any more time. So in order for me to do this, I have to say no to something else, or I have to pick this up. So just something to consider when you're saying yes, let your yes be yes and your no be no, because when you say yes, think about just like my engineers. Okay, I've got this plate of things. What do I now have to say no to so that I can pick up this other element? So we've all said yes to something that we should have said no to. And as a result, have felt overwhelmed and overburdened. And I know that there were comments about that earlier today. And at that point, we began to feel exhausted because we're doing something that we didn't want to do in the first place. Who has been there? Oh my gosh, a weekend where you were planning on just relaxing, and then someone says, hey, I need help moving. And you're like, moving? Like, who else is going to help them? Like, I know that I've been working all week for the last 3 weeks, and this is my 1-day break, but I would just say yes. And you get there, and none of their stuff is packed, and then you're looking at them, now I have to pack, and now you're just mad, because you're like, I could have been at my house, in my bed, eating my chips, relaxing, but it's not their fault. You said yes. So letting your yes be yes, your no be no. And then Proverbs 31 says she considers a new field before she buys it or accepts it, expanding prudently and not courting neglect of her present duties by assuming other duties. Right, isn't this an interesting breakdown of this? It's the Amplified version, which says, she considers a new field before she buys it, accepts it, expanding prudently and not courting neglect of her present duties by assuming other duties. With her savings of time and strength, plants fruitful vines in her vineyard. Proverbs 31:16. This verse reminds us that it's important to consider prudently new ventures to make sure that we don't neglect the things that we already have on our plate. So when we say yes because of guilt, you jeopardize not having enough time or energy to accomplish the things that we have already said yes to. So we need to ask God for wisdom. This is the most important thing. So when you're considering whether it's at work or in your personal life, what can I say yes to? Pray, right? And now as a full-time entrepreneur, there's always things for me to do, like always. I need to redo my website, I need to launch this new thing, I need to work on this other project. And so I'm constantly thinking, what needs to be done today? What's going to be, where do I want to be a year from now? And what do I need to be working towards to get there a year from now? What happens 6 months from now? And so I'm constantly like, okay, God, I have a million ideas. What do you want me to work on? What project do you want me to take on right now? And if I'm to take on this project, what do I now need to adjust or say yes to? Do I need to wake up earlier? Do I need to start my day earlier? Do I need to turn focus mode on my phone, which I have done that. I did it on my phone and my iPad and my computer because I just kept getting distracted by stuff, right? And so we'll talk about those as well. God wants us to be a good steward of our time and our energy, and that way we can have discernment for when to say no and when to say yes. So even if we love our jobs, how many of us love our jobs? Love it. I love that. Half the room. I think those are good odds, honestly. But even if we love our jobs, your work is still not who we are, right? Like you are not defined by what you do. You are still a child of God, and you still have to determine how can I move forward in my calling and in my purpose, even when I have the ability to just work because I love it. So we need to have a sense of being done for the day so we can look forward to the next challenges that we'll face in the coming days. Matthew 6:34, this is the Passion Translation, and it says, refuse to worry about tomorrow, but deal with each challenge that comes your way at a time, one day at a time. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So we have a couple of examples of how we can set some of those clear work boundaries and stick to them. The first is to set priorities, which I already mentioned, right? What do you need to do today? What do you need to do this week, this month, this quarter, and this year? Any enterprise, life, family, business, etc., is built by wise planning. Becoming strong through common sense and profits wonderfully by keeping abreast of the facts. Proverbs 24:3-4. So understanding your priorities is important because somebody else will set them for you if you don't set them for yourself. And this is something that I learned at my first sales job, is that I always felt like I came into work and I would have to set my priorities. And that would be set by what my boss had asked me to do overnight, all the emails that came in. And so I always felt like I was behind the 8 ball. Like every time I came in, I was just drowning. So then I said, what if I spent a few minutes the day before setting priorities, setting my goals for the next day, and then as other things come, then I can just pop them into my already existing list, so I'm not spending 15, 30 minutes, an hour, however, putting out fires in the morning. So even those small shifts, and I do that even now as an entrepreneur the night before, what am I working on tomorrow? So I'm not waking up what do I need to do today? And just let the day tell me, right? The next is to communicate honestly and clearly, just like our engineers. No, I don't have capacity. Or if I have capacity, if I don't have capacity, you can go talk to the CEO and ask what the priorities are. I'm happy to adjust, right? So you are the CEO of you, so you need to talk to what are my priorities and what needs to happen. You also may need to have that conversation with your manager or with your leaders. Like, hey, I'm getting all of these requests. What are our priorities? Because I don't have capacity to do all of them. We must say what is true and say it with love. That's what Mashari talked about earlier. You don't have to be mean. You just be really clear. That's Ephesians 4:15. When we speak honestly and clearly with a tone of kindness, we open the door for other coworkers to do the same. And avoid apologetic tones like, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you, but could you? Or I just. I just wanted to add, no, you wanted to add it because you are valuable and you have something to say. Next, establish your work schedule. Proverbs 16:3 says, roll your works upon the Lord, commit and trust them wholly to him. He will cause your thoughts to become agreeable to his will, and so shall your plans be established and succeed. Proverbs 16:3. Establish a clear work schedule, embed it with your supervisor, and communicate it with others. I have a couple of examples of this. My last role, we were working with people all different time zones. And a lack of boundary that I started having was waking up in the morning, starting to respond to emails at 6 in the morning. Because there was some drama that happened overnight, and it's their priority, and so I'm like, oh, I must start working on this. But then what happens when you start responding at 6 in the morning is you keep responding. And then now I haven't had breakfast, but I gotta keep going. And then we're setting meetings and nobody respects lunch hour. So now I'm working all the way through lunch. I haven't had breakfast, haven't had lunch. This was a problem. It got to a point where my mom was like, you need to figure out how you're gonna actually eat food. This is ridiculous. And I'm like, but everything is happening. Everything is going up all the time. But establishing your clear boundaries, and this was how I was operating for a while. We had somebody join our team from the EU, and she was put on her calendar, she's with her family. And I was like, what do you mean? I can't book over, everybody's booking over my lunch, they're booking over my ramen. And you're like, no. And then we had a conversation about, we need to give her space with her family. And I was like, hold up. I need to have space. But you know what? She had that boundary. She established that. It was my bad for not doing the same thing, to say, I need space. Or if we're going to be booking meetings here, I need time to take a break, heat up my food at least, and have something, right? So, it's nobody else's fault, but mine, right? So something to consider. So talk about that work schedule. Next up, have a healthy sense of self-worth. If you want favor with both God and man and a reputation for good judgment and common sense, then trust the Lord completely. Don't ever trust yourself. Proverbs 3:5. So having a healthy self-worth puts better in position for you to show up fully and confidently, right? And because I had been in so many different work environments where I felt it was not okay to speak up, then I was allowing myself to be run over. And again, other people, it's not their responsibility to think for you. It's nice. It's so nice when they do, but it's not their responsibility. It's my responsibility, and it's your responsibility. So if you need to eat breakfast, if you need to eat lunch, if you need to have a water break, a bathroom break, if you want to have blockers and buffer time from meeting to meeting so that you can show up as your full self, you have the right to ask for that. And then prepare for boundary breakers. This is Ephesians 5:15. Therefore, see that you walk carefully, living life with honor, purpose, and courage, not as the unwise, but as wise, sensible, intelligent, discerning people. So building clear, healthy boundaries takes time, and coworkers may not be aware of those boundaries. They may not be used to those boundaries. They may be like me, who's like, who are you telling no to? So we might have those people, but then being prepared for how you're going to handle that. I think Mashari gave some really great examples about even ones that people didn't even realize that there was a boundary, something that this is just how they operate. They just advance lives. They just want to do this, right? And so you can have that conversation with kindness and with clarity to say, hey, this is how I like to operate, and allow people space to show up for you instead of holding on to anger and bitterness. Oh, they don't respect me. It's like you just give them an opportunity to respect you in that manner. So now we are heading into an exercise. This is where you can chat with your neighbor. And the exercise is, hopefully you guys just move past that examples page, move on to exercise. It says page 1. Stick to clear boundaries. If you work hard at what you do, great abundance will come to you. That's Proverbs 14:23. Boundaries are simply clearly stated parameters that provide a safe structure for communication and the health of a relationship. So this is an activity where you're going to understand your priorities, and we like to have an exercise where you can start to flex and build up those muscles of saying no, or of determining what will I say no to, what will I say yes to. So you're going to read through some examples. I'll take you to that page in a second. But you're going to read through the examples and decide, yes, I would feel guilty for saying no. No, I would not feel guilty for saying no. Or maybe, depending on the circumstances. So yes, no, maybe are the three options for those. And then we'll talk about what that means for you. So flip to the next page, it's exercise page 2. And there are 3 scenarios. You're going to meet with a partner. I think there's space for everybody to just have 2 people in a group. And there will be maybe 3 to 5 minutes for each of the questions. And then you'll swap. We'll count out for when you'll swap to the next person. But you're going to read those scenarios, chat with your neighbor. What does that look like? Yes, no, maybe. And then assess. So we'll spend about maybe about 10, 15 minutes there. Maybe about 10, 15 minutes. All right, any questions? You're going to choose, have you guys already done partner?